Back Thursday edition as we take you through major stories making the rounds on the front page of the national dailies this morning. As always, we'll be looking at the Punch, the Vanguard, Daily Trust, the Nation, the Guardian newspaper this day, and if time permits, we'll also check out what's trending on the news online blogs as well. Of course, it's been quite an interesting week so far with all the developments evolving, and as always, we are doing our bit to ensure that we keep you up to speed with developments as they evolve and unfold. So without much ado, we get into the stories making the rounds, starting with the front page of the Punch newspaper, referred to as the mostly widely read newspaper here in Nigeria. And on the Punch, it leads with this headline: APC opposition clash over FG's revenue growth claim. APC opposition clash over FG's revenue growth claim. Other stories trending on the Punch newspaper this morning: Dangote Group denies ownership of truck in Enugu accident. Jagba, Libyan employer trapped me, drained my blood, rescued Nigerian migrant. Of course, relieves his harrowing experience in Libya. Trump seeks expedited Supreme Court ruling on tariffs. Photos: Xi, Putin, Kim at Beijing parade as China flaunts military might. Collecting transport fare for dates without showing up is punishable, police warn women. Non-oil revenue jumps 40% to 20.6 trillion naira presidency. My reforms have restored Nigeria's global respect, Tinubu. 1,364 West African children recruited by terrorists, 14,000 schools short, UN. NAD insists on strike, says over 2,000 doctors owed. 3 killed in Lagos. Masquerade. Those are the stories trending on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning. And as always, we urge you to be part of the conversation, because we are live and interactive on Voice of the People 96.1 FM, especially as we go by reacting, contributing, and commenting on any of the newspaper headlines that tickle your fancy this morning. Just hit us up on 0808 312 8618. 0808 312 8618. Don't forget to tell us your name, your location, and of course keep your contribution straight to the point and concise, and most importantly civil, so that we can have a clean, clear, engaging conversation on this morning's edition of the Front Page Review. And of course, don't forget, at the top of the hour will be the arena, and we will be looking at the renewed battle between the eminent leaders faction of the PDP and the PDP itself, especially in the build-up to their proposed national convention. Will it hold, or will it, or as usual, where to be or not to be? That's the question this morning on the arena. But that will be at the top of the hour, 8 a.m. this beautiful Thursday morning. For now, we are checking out major stories making the rounds as far as the national dailies are concerned. And remember, you can react to any of the stories, and if any of those stories do tickle your fancy, then we encourage you to grab a copy of the Punch newspaper, the Vanguard, or any of the national dailies in which those stories are trending this beautiful Thursday morning. From the Punch, we jump to the Vanguard newspaper, and the Vanguard leads with this headline: Insecurity. I have to create state police, Tinubu. I am reviewing all the aspects of security. I have to create state police. We are looking at that holistically. We will defeat insecurity. We must protect our children, our people, our livelihood, our places of worship, and our recreational spaces. They can't intimidate us. Insecurity. I have to create state police, Tinubu. That's the gaping headline on the front page of the Vanguard this morning. Sirika blames Airpeace United Azman for failure of Nigeria Air. Sirika blames Airpeace United Azman for failure of Nigeria Air. U.S. warns citizens in Nigeria against travel to military facilities, defense visa revocation. Other stories making the rounds as far as the Vanguard newspaper is concerned this morning. Dangote Industries, not owner of truck in Enugu crash, says police. Customs collects 3.7 trillion in first half of 2025. British International Investment, Baban Gona signs $7.5 million deal to boost food security. Others. PDP presidential ticket, why I oppose zoning, Olawekbo Hashim. Benue Assembly intrigues plots that ousted Speaker Dajon. Price hike, no subsidy on CNG, says FG. FCCPC issues regulations to tackle digital lending abuses. 2027, nothing can stop Tinubu's re-election, Jibril. Tinubu not to blame for North's insecurity, Abdulmumuni Jibril. Lopsided projects, Lagos is no man's land, Bawa. Those are the stories trending on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. Of course, other stories trending. If you are interested in political stories on the Vanguard, PDP presidential ticket, why I oppose zoning, Olawekbo Hashim. Benue Assembly intrigues plots that ousted Speaker Dajon. Nothing can stop Tinubu's re-election, Jubril. I am not in any coalition against Tinubu's re-election, Hadi Sirika. And of course, the subject of our conversation this morning on the arena, National Convention, PDP draws battle line with Wike camp. So those are the stories trending on the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Any of those stories tickle your fancy, then you should grab yourself a copy of the Vanguard newspaper. Okay? All right, moving away from the Vanguard, we go to the Daily Trust. The Daily Trust leads with this headline or top story: touts chase couple to death in Abuja. A couple died in an auto crash in Abuja yesterday when they were chased by roadside touts, popularly known as Agberu. It was lent sad development in the nation's capital, and I think it's about high time. The FCT minister, I mean, it's shocking. I remember relocating to Abuja. It was a total contrast to what you find in a place like Lagos, where you have touts and street orchards, almost every nook and cranny. But sadly, in recent years, touts have taken over the nation's capital, the seat of government. Maybe that might just be our conversation tomorrow on the arena as we look at developments in the FCT. And it will be good to get real life experiences from residents of the nation's capital on this development. Anyway, moving ahead to other stories making the rounds on the Daily Trust this morning. Northeast governors present demands to Tinubu. Interesting. Northeast governors present demands to Tinubu. Declare state of emergency on insecurity in North. NEF urges Tinubu. Declare state of emergency on insecurity in North. NEF urges Tinubu. Other stories making the rounds as far as the Daily Trust is concerned. Lagos waterway to host Team Drogba, Rafa, 7 others on October the 3rd contest. 160 golfers miss Kahola's hole in one challenge prize. Chemeta DCC wins maiden EYN volleyball tourney. Onana drops to number 3, may join Saudi League. FG, Sokoto government urged to tackle banditry to prevent ethnic clashes. So those are the stories trending on the front page of the Daily Trust. Other stories that might tickle your fancy on the Daily Trust. Kwankwaso open to joining APC, says Jubril. 2027, Tinubu blames opposition for early campaigns. Boat mishap claims 29 fresh lives in Niger. 30 houses razed in fresh plateau attack. So those are the stories making the rounds as far as the Daily Trust is concerned. And if any of those stories tickle your fancy, then you should grab yourself a copy of the Daily Trust. And don't forget, we are live and interactive on the Voice of the People 96.1 FM. Now, as we like to say, now you have a voice. You can comment, react to any of the stories trending on the front pages of the national dailies. And of course, don't forget to tell us your name, your location, where you're receiving us from, and keep your contributions concise, straight to the point, but most importantly, civil. The number to call is 0808 312 8618. 0808 312 8618. And of course, you can also be part of the conversation through using our WhatsApp portal. Same number, 0808 312 8618. And also, you can utilize the text message or SMS service to also be part of the conversation. And from the Daily Trust, we go to the Nation newspaper. The Nation, with this interesting headline, Tinubu's victory in 2027 sure, says Abdul Mumuni. Tinubu's victory in 2027 sure, says Abdul Mumuni. And of course, all the stories trending on the Nation newspaper this morning. Part 2, ending ASU strike. Why sleep is your body's best medicine. Olawekpo, Hashim's supporters protest PDP's zoning. Okay, and of course, customs generate 3.7 trillion naira post 25% growth. Yeah. T2 mobile subscribers grown despite Rome deal with MTN. Benue, Plateau killings, suspect pleads guilty to illegal arms possession. 20.59 trillion naira, federal government 8-month revenue, strongest in history. Of course, the coalition are challenging that statement by the federal government, and because there are still data gaps that suggest that what the federal government is putting out in terms of its revenue projections may not necessarily be on point. But we'll keep our ears to the ground and searchlight beamed on the story as it evolves. And leaving the Nation newspaper, we go to one of my favorites, The Guardian. The Guardian newspaper leads with this headline: Insecurity, FG opens debate on state police as Tinubu declares readiness. Insecurity, FG reopens debate on state police as Tinubu declares readiness. Other stories making the rounds on The Guardian newspaper this morning. Non-oil growth accounts for 20 trillion naira income, says presidency. Non-oil growth accounts for 20 trillion naira income, says presidency. Constitution review. Abbas unveils proposed amendments to Southern stakeholders. Peruvian ex-presidents face court in separate corruption trials. Zelensky to meet European leaders after Putin vows to fight on. DSS arraigns 9 suspects over Benue Plateau killings. ADC faults Tinubu's charity plan for National Library. And of course, those are the stories currently trending on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Other stories also making the rounds on the Guardian. Zulum leads Northeast governors to Tinubu seeks completion of 17 roads, oil exploration. Contractors storm Abuja, demand 4 trillion naira payment for completed projects. Colombia coal exploits plummet after ban on Israel sales. Trump offers more U.S. troops to Poland's nationalist president. And 10 lives lost, 10 injured in multiple accidents in Enugu-Port Harcourt Expressway. Jury tells Google to pay $425 million over app privacy. Russia says security guarantees sought by Ukraine danger to Europe. 6 activists charged in Britain over support for Palestinian action. Those are all stories trending on the front page of the Guardian newspaper this morning. And if any of those stories do tickle your fancy, then you should grab yourself a copy of the Guardian. Okay, and from the Guardian we go to this day, leading with this headline: Tinubu pushes for state police, hails civilian JTF. Insecurity: Tinubu pushes for state police, hails civilian JTF. Benue Plateau killings: DSS arraigns 9 prime suspects. Nigeria's non-oil revenue rises 40.5% to 20.59 trillion naira in 8 months. And other stories trending on this day newspaper this morning: Tinubu orders SGF to issue circular on health insurance in MDAs. Improved security will impact positively on cancer control efforts, says Zenabu Bagudu. Improved security will impact positively on cancer control efforts, says Zenabu Bagudu. And of course, all the stories making the rounds as far as this day newspaper is concerned. Tinubu reverses appointment in NTA, reinstates DG, Executive Director of News. Tinubu, we met revenue target for 2025 in August. Those are the stories making the rounds right on the front page of this day newspaper. And of course, any of those stories tickle your fancy, you should grab yourself a copy of the This Day newspaper. Let's quickly check what's trending on the online news blogs this morning, and we go straight to the Sahara Reporters with this exclusive. Inspector General Egbetokun removes AIG Fayo Ade from Zone 2 Lagos to stop his planned emergence as next police boss. Interesting. Breaking on Sahara Reporters: Lagos Command PRO Benjamin Hundeyin to replace Muiwa Adejobi as Nigerian police spokesman. Other stories trending on Sahara Reporters this morning: NNPC medical service staff demand justice after colleague dies in Port Harcourt. Nigerian police arrest Kebbi woman who buried her newborn baby in shallow grave. And of course, Education Rights Campaign asks Tinubu to meet Polytechnic lecturers' ASUP demand to avert strike action. NMA laments as resident doctor dies after 72 hours work shift at River State Hospital. All this and more trending on Sahara Reporters. So if any of those stories tickle your fancy, then you should grab yourself a copy of I said grab yourself. You should go online and log on to the Sahara Reporters to get the details of the stories. And finally, just before we call it a wrap on this morning's edition of Front Page Review, we go to the Daily Post online. The Daily Post leads with this story: 2027 ADC coalition leaders could not answer 99% of our question. SDP's Adebayo. Ahead of the 2027 race for the nation's top seat, the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, Adebayo, of course, giving his version, his side of the story with regards to the coalition that has now settled in with the African Democratic Congress, ADC. 2027, I dare other aspirants to present themselves for scrutiny. Peter Obi Tanko. 2027, I dare other aspirants to present themselves for scrutiny as Peter Obi Tanko. Other stories making the rounds on the Daily Post online. Police rescue baby buried alive in Kebbi. Arrest 20-year-old mother. Kwankwaso's defection faces opposition within APC. Rep. Jubril. Governor Alia assigns portfolios to newly inaugurated Benue commissioners. So those are the stories making the rounds this morning on the front pages of the national dailies and of course on online news blogs. As I did say, any of those stories do tickle your fancy, you should grab yourself a copy of any of the national dailies or go online and get the meat of the matter. The phone lines, studio lines, still very much open and will be open all through the arena. The arena comes up in just about 4 minutes from now as we take a quick breather, and when we do come back, these gates and the doors of the arena will be open for you to be part of the conversation as we look at